Okay, welcome everybody to Writing for Academic Purposes. So I'm going to get the slides. So the module is divided into, I think, 3 different learning outcomes. So I'm going to go over the first one, which is LO1. I'm going to share the slides first, that would help. Sorry about that. So here we go. There we go. Okay, so understanding how to interpret titles and produce a plan for academic writing. So what is Learning Outcome 1 really asking for? So Learning Outcome 1 is about 2 things. So the first point is interpreting assignment titles. So it's really important that you need to show that you can look at a question or a task and understand exactly what it wants. Most students jump straight into writing and miss key parts of the question. LO1 wants you to prove you can break down a title and extract the command words, the topic, and the scope. So most important part of answering a question is actually understanding what the question is asking you to do. And I think once you get your head around understanding the question and what it's asking you to do, then you're more equipped to provide the best answer possible. So a really important part of academic writing is to produce a plan. And this will help the focus and it'll help the structure. So once you understand the title, you're expected to produce a logical, structured plan that outlines what you'll cover, in what order, and with what evidence. Think of it as the blueprint for your assignment. So it's a foundation of your assignment that will help you massively. So this is a little bit small. Let me see if I can try and zoom in a little bit. Doesn't seem to like me today. Okay, I'm going to just go ahead and read that out, I think, because it doesn't seem to a bit better. That's a bit better. So here's a process you're expected to follow. So spot the command word. So this tells you the type of response that's required for your answer. So here are some great examples. So you have analyze. So this is to break into parts and explain relationships. To evaluate is to weigh the pros and cons and reach a judgment based on the information that you have. Discuss is to present the different sides with evidence. So you may refer to any kind of peer evidence, any kind of particular theories in a really kind of neutral way. Describe, give clear detail. Explain, so as to show how or why something happens. If you do misinterpret the command word, the whole assignment can go off track. So it's really important to keep going back to the question and to make sure that you understand what is the command word, and that will help guide you. The second part is to identify the topic. This is a subject you are being asked to focus on. It might be broad or specific. For example, marketing techniques used by large organizations, the role of communication in customer services. And the third area is to clarify the scope. So what is the breadth of what you're actually looking at? So this tells you which part of the topic and to what extent you need to cover it. So look for phrases like in the context of, with reference to, within the business environment, or using examples from your workplace. That will help you understand what the scope looks like that you need to cover. Okay, so the next part. So once the title is broken down, you can then begin to make a plan. So mostly a plan will be broken down into these key areas. So producing an effective academic plan. So the first part is the introduction. So the introduction will explain your understanding of the title. Shouldn't really be any more than a paragraph or so. Define any key terms, or to state, sorry, what the assignment will cover. So it'll be a really kind of clear and concise summary of what you're going to discuss and what the assignment will look at. Number 2, the main body sections. So you need to break the task into logical themes. For example, section 1, the definitions and the context. So what is the context, the general context, and what are the main definitions that we need to think about within this topic area? Section 2 is to analyse the key concepts. So what are the key ideas, the key theories that you have maybe researched that you can back up and reference also. And then section 3, application to a real organisation. So give examples of this in the real working world, to a real organisation. Section 4 will be to evaluate or compare. And each section should include the point that you'll make, the evidence that you'll use, so any theories that you can use to back up, examples, any data, primary, secondary, or qualitative or quantitative data that will help back up the evidence, back up the point that you're making, and how it links back to the title, the assignment title. So again, always link it back to what the question is asking us to do. Conclusion is to summarise your main points. So what are your key findings, and to make sure that it answers the command word. So to what extent did you manage to evaluate, analyse, etc. And at this point, there shouldn't be any new information. But within the conclusion, you want to really do a summary of what you have identified and how successful you feel that was with the information that you have given. And then you have your reference list, which should be using the Harvard referencing system. You should acknowledge the sources using the required referencing style. So you want to make sure they're using the required standard there, which is a Harvard referencing system. Okay, so the next bit is to interpret a title and create a plan. So this is a specific example within a customer service setting. So the title we have here is to discuss the importance of effective communication in customer service using examples from business of your choice. Okay, so the interpretation of this title has been broken down. So you'll notice that they've taken the command word as discuss, which is within the title. The topic is effective communication in customer service, and the scope is to use real examples and consider why it matters. So that's what it wants you to look at. It wants you to discuss the area, the topic, which is effective communication, and it wants you to use actual real life examples. So that's what you need to do. So then you start thinking about outlining a plan. You have an introduction, which would define communication, because that's what it's asking you to focus on. Then explain the customer service context. So what is customer service, most broadly? And then to state the focus of the discussion, so what you intend to focus on specifically. What is your take on it? And then the main body, so you'd have section A, the types of communication. So how do we most commonly think about communication? What are the different types of communication, which are verbal, written, or non-verbal? Section B, how communication affects customer satisfaction. So is there a positive correlation between, a positive relationship between good examples of communication and customer satisfaction? So the better communication we have, we know that leads typically to better customer satisfaction. So section 3, examples for your chosen business. So any particular organisation or business, you can give examples from that. And then section D would be any limitations or challenges. Conclusion would be a summary of the key insights, the key things you found, and then a justification and a reinforcement of the overall importance of communication for customer service within the conclusion. So we'll move on next to what you need to demonstrate for LO1. So for learning outcome 1, you need to be able to break down and fully understand the essay or assignment titles. You can identify the common command words, the topics, and the limits of the task. You can produce a detailed, structured academic plan before writing. And this plan will show your organisation, clarity, and logical sequencing. So this is a really good way, a good guide that will help produce you a piece of work, because it's clearly breaking the question down, giving you a plan, which will allow you then to properly answer the question. So here's a clean, direct explanation of 1.1. So use techniques to explore themes, purpose, and ideas initiated by an essay title. I'll treat this the way an assessor expects: practical, clear, and grounded. If you want it expanded into a 400-word assignment style answer later, just say so. Okay, so you need to show what is 1.1 asking for. So back to that question. You need to show that you can take an essay's title, break it apart, dissect it, if you will, and use specific techniques to understand, one, the themes, so the big topics behind the question, the big ideas around the question, the purpose, so what does the question actually want you to achieve? What is it asking from you to explore? And then the different ideas, so the key points or angles you'll need to explore. This is what you'll need to think about before writing, and it proves that you know how to unpack a title properly instead of guessing or just going completely off topic. So again, it's about understanding the question, and once you understand the question, then you're better equipped to definitely, to really be specific in what the question is asking you to do, and you're keeping it on scope. Okay, so this will now cover the techniques that you're expected to use within any academic writing. So breaking down the question. So this is the foundation. You look at the title and identify command words. They may be analyse, discuss, describe, or evaluate. The subject, so the main topic. What is the main topic you're being asked to discuss? The scope is the boundaries of what do you need to cover and what don't you need to cover. So keeping it really focused on the key areas. And that will help, once you know that will help you be specific to the question. So just to reinforce that, this helps you avoid drifting and keeps you writing focused. Okay, so number 2, the highlighting the key terms. Pick out the important concepts in the title and define them. Example. An example title is to analyse the impact of motivation on employee performance. So the key terms you'd highlight would be analyse, motivation, employee performance, impact. So this gives you the starting structure for your argument, the keywords. Okay, another technique is brainstorming and mind mapping. So this will help you really break down your thoughts. It's a really good way to kind of map all your different ideas out onto a piece of paper to break it all down. So you can expand on key terms by listing related ideas. For example, for motivation, you might branch into intrinsic motivation, extrinsic motivation, rewards, recognition. So mind mapping is really good as it helps you kind of understand some kind of key themes that the title is really wanting to push you towards. The next section is questioning the title. So it's just important to think deeply and to really question the question. So ask yourself probing questions. Why is this topic important? What arguments naturally arise from this title? What evidence currently exists? And what assumptions does the question make? This reveals the purpose behind the question. Okay, another technique is to consider different angles. So it's really important within academic writing to stay really neutral and impartial and be really subjective and present different arguments and different ways of thinking. So you want to look at causes, effects, advantages, disadvantages, alternatives. Real life examples are great if you can find any of those and support them and reference them properly. So this really widens your thinking and ideas and ensures you cover the title fully. So you're showing the contrasting ways of thinking around the topic. Number 6 is to link the title to prior knowledge or theory. So you connect your essay title with relevant theories. So what is the current theoretical standing point of the particular question? Are there any particular models that theorists have maybe made that you can show examples of? Any previous studies? And if you can use examples of any other studies relating to this question, this will really help you be evidence-based. Okay, so what do you end up with? By using these techniques, you should be able to clearly identify the themes. So the different kind of current theories around motivation, performance management, the purpose, for example, to analyse how one affects another, and the ideas that you need to explore. So different models, reward system, organisational impact. Preparing your UCAS application and applying for a radiography degree course. Okay, so this next section is an essay plan. So the title is Preparing Your UCAS Application and Applying for a Radiography Degree Course. So if you were doing a UCAS application, this would be a great plan that you could use. So you briefly outline what UCAS is and why the application process matters. Introduce radiography as a healthcare profession requiring clear entry requirements, academic preparation, and a strong personal statement. State the purpose of the essay. So explain how to prepare an effective UCAS application specifically for a radiography degree. And then understanding the UCAS requirements. So what are the entry requirements for radiography? So it's typically A-level or level 3 grades with the sciences preferred. The GCSE requirements, so maths, English, science, and the relevance of level 3 vocational qualifications. You'll need a DBS check and occupational health clearance. University expectations. So there'll be a variation in the entry criteria between different universities. They'll expect different things, different grading. The importance of checking individual course pages, so checking on the different university pages what is required. Specific demands for radiography. And then preparing the personal statement. Number 3. Purpose of the personal statement. It shows motivation, suitability, and understanding of the profession. Evidence of communication skills, empathy, and commitment. So they're the key skills that will be identified. 3.2 is the key themes to include. So why does radiography appeal to you? So relevant experience. If you can evidence any work placements that you've been on, any volunteering you've undertook, any care roles that you've had. So any relevant skills, maybe communication, teamwork, attention to detail, and problem solving. Values, patient care, ethical behaviour, respect, and safeguarding. Academic suitability, so science interest, coursework, specific learning achievements. And techniques to write it well. So reflective writing and showing insights. It's really important to be reflective around your kind of position, be self-aware, and linking experiences to key skills. So what skills did you gain from certain experiences. Use clear examples instead of vague claims. Be really clear with every example that you do give. And the next section is all around gathering supporting evidence. So reference from tutors or employers, certificates and predicted grades. Any kind of evidence that you can give is all helpful. Any relevant training, first aid, manual handling, health and safety. Choosing the right universities, section 5. So researching the course structure. Look at the location. Is the location okay? Are the placement opportunities in that location? Is there an availability of NHS training grants? And entry competitiveness and interview format. So have an awareness of those as well. Submitting the UCAS application. So the key stages, filling in personal details, adding qualifications and employment history, uploading personal statement and adding references. And 6.2, deadlines and timelines. UCAS deadlines for healthcare courses, advantage of early submission, tracking application progress through UCAS Hub. Section 7, preparing for interviews, so common interview formats, MMIs, panel interviews, NHS values and scenario-based questions, and understanding the role of a radiographer and key responsibilities, reflecting on personal statement content. So the conclusion, recapping on the main requirements to understand entry criteria, preparing a strong personal statement, gathering evidence, selecting suitable universities and submitting the UCAS form correctly, and reinforce the importance of preparation for radiography due to professional, academic and practical expectations. Okay, so that's everything there. So this is a Harvard references, just all over there. You want to have a look at those. It goes over everything that we've covered today. And if you want to read any kind of journals or ebooks to help go further into this unit, you can have a look on Moodle. If you have any questions, if you kindly email learningwork@ukversity.uk.co.uk. And the assignment will be 2 weeks after the completion of the units and its delivery. So I will go over the assignment for you now. So this is the assignment. The assignment brief. So the assignment brief is you are required to select an essay title that relates to an area of academic interest. The chosen title should provide scope for evaluation and analysis within your essay. So create a mind map of the themes and ideas for your academic essay. So you have a read of those. And then the AC 1.1 and the AC 1.2, I will show you what that means now. So that is the assessment criteria. So for learning outcome 1, you should understand how to interpret titles and produce a plan for academic writing. The student needs to show that they can use techniques to explore themes, purpose, and ideas initiated by an essay title. 1.2, produce an essay plan that meets the requirements of the essay title. The next learning outcome is to understand the importance of structure, language, style, and conventions in academic writing. So the student needs to be able to show that they can use a plan to write a coherent and logical response to the question. 2.2, demonstrate an ability to use a relevant and clear structure using accurate and fluent English, which observes grammar, punctuation, and spelling conventions. 2.3, use academic style and register to produce an essay which shows evidence of evaluation and analysis. To get used to the academic style of writing, it's really helpful to read journals, so you can kind of familiarise yourself with the kind of tone, which I found has really helped me in the past. 2.4, identify and evaluate a range of source material to make valid conclusions. And number 3, learning outcome 3, understand the use of academic referencing. So 3.1, acknowledge all sources quoted or paraphrased and demonstrate the correct use of plagiarism software. 3.2, accurately use a standard form of referencing reflecting a range of sources. So this needs to be appropriately answered to within the assignment brief. And you should be able to get all of those. And we have this as well. There's a workbook for academic purposes. So this will be very helpful too. And this should be available on Moodle also. So any questions that you do have, please kindly email learnerwork@ukversity.co.uk. Okay, thank you so much. Have a good evening, sorry. Bye. Thank you.